about 400,000 people died during the COVID pandemic. Wow. This was during Trump's first term. Then he gets into his second term. He cuts diversity, equity, inclusion programs, DEI programs. He cuts Medicaid and SNAP. So after watching 400 people die, he then cuts their health care. This is not just about DEI, this is about DIE. People will die because of policy violence, because of policy murder. So we need to stand up, if anything, to this MAGA, Jim Crow, Esquire problem. Please step up. Tell us your name. I know you got a lot on your mind.
All right, my name is Maurice. I'm from Brooklyn, and I'm going to pick up right where you left off. What's on my mind right now is the Trump administration and their second term. Under this president, black unemployment is heading back towards where it was during the COVID-19 pandemic. The largest spike being in black women. It's about 6.8 right now. We haven't seen numbers like this at all. Last time somebody gave out the job statistics, he fired them. Of course, the next person that he hired now gave even lower job statistics. So even he has to acknowledge now that it's bad. Okay, recently, the Trump administration attacked a boat of Venezuelans that was coming to this country, right? 11 people, he killed them. The news media is not really talking about it, but it's all over the papers. Okay, why is this a problem? This is a problem because unlike other presidents who have declared war on drugs, right? We know that it's not a real war. This administration is taking it as if they are really at war with the drug dealers. Now, the rules of war are different than regular rules. If they're at war with you, you're an enemy combatant and they can just kill you. So these people don't get to explain, no, you are mistaken, we're not drug dealers. They're dead. He bombed them. Right? We can't just have the president unilaterally deciding to use the military against anybody who comes over here. Because we know he's not a good judge of character at who is and who is not a gang member or a terrorist or whatever it is. If you're Kilmar Gregu, a guy in the union taking people to work, he's going to call you a gang member and say that you're smuggling immigrants. But if you're a bunch of other people who are storming the Capitol, but you have the right complexion for the protection, then he's going to say, okay, you deserve a pardon. You're a hero. All right? So we really have to get out there and vote like democracy depends on it. Because in this instance, democracy actually does depend on it. All right? No justice, no peace.
Maurice, I know you have little time for us, but
yeah.
You know, that was when Ron was head of NAN.
I remember.
I was never had a NAN.
I mean,
I just hosted the DEI segment.
Head of what's on your mind?
What's on your? There we go.
There you go.
Yeah,
and DEI.
That was at the 145th location. Man,
well, was it like for you guys to see yourselves that many times? That was 2025.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's been that long already.
That was that's a year ago. Right? Now we have Maurice, we're going to talk about what's happening today. Update us on what's happening with this recent killing, and we're going to show the press conference. You know, give you a little time to give us the short time that you have on us, you know.
Right, no problem. You want me to update first, or are you going to show the clip and then you want me to update? How are we going to do this?
Update it and then we'll show the clip.
All right. So first and foremost, since you just showed the clip of me and Ron, I mean, I just want to say how amazing it is from 2025 to 2026.
Yeah.
What was a problem then? What we were thinking of was like, oh my God, he's killing one or two people here and there or whatever. How could he do this? And it was such a big humanitarian crisis.
Yeah.
You compare that to all the nonsense that he's doing right now.
Yeah.
It's like dwarfed in comparison. This moron has unilaterally decided to start a war with Iran, right? Where he's taking our military resources and just depleting them. Like, if you were an enemy of the state and you planned on like how to undermine the United States, it's like he's executing the entire specific playbook. Drain your military resources, start pouring funding into stupidness, start a pointless war, drive up the economy, right?
Yeah.
Drive down the value of the US dollar, decrease black employment, attack all of the things that all the American civil rights and stuff like that. Come on. I mean, he's got to stop. And now, since you want to specifically discuss the Nolan Wills case, I mean, this case is just a travesty. If you want to talk about people not doing their job and overlooking the obvious, then that's a perfect example of this case. It's a young man who went to a deserted island with his white friends, all white friends, and this is one black kid. They go to the island together, and he does not come back with them for some reason. Instead, he washes up dead on the shore a few days later. And they claim that he decided to stay on this deserted island by himself without his phone. He just wanted to give them his phone and his keys and said he was going to find his way back. Now, just that story alone doesn't pass the smell test because, number one, who leaves to go anywhere without their phone, right?
Can I interrupt you a minute? Do you have enough time to watch the press conference?
Yeah, you can show it to me.
Let's run that clip, and then I want your analysis afterwards, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Just run 1A, will you?
From, I want to let me say at the outset that when I received the word of what happened to Nolan and began hearing what was pieced together, it is clear that this situation must have the most thorough and objective investigation to lead to justice. What we've been told does not make sense. And being that there is lack of confidence in the local authorities, who have already, in my judgment, seemed to have mishandled where it was going. Because to just immediately, before a week time, saying there was nothing done wrong, when we hear that this young man was engaged in some kind of argument that was on tape, that his cell phone and keys ended up with one of the people that were there on the island and got away. He was one black with 3 young white men who happened to end up with his phone, happened to end up with his keys. Then there's just too many questions that they should not be closing the investigation. Now, I'm from Brooklyn, so I'm a little different than some of y'all. I was built different. My nose is out here, my eyes are here, my brain is here, which means some things I could smell before I could see and before I can figure out. This does not smell right. So some people are saying, Reverend, are y'all bringing in race? Well, we're not bringing in race, but we're not discounting race either, because we don't know what it is. So to tell us don't rush to judgment saying it was racist is fine. But then I'm telling you, don't rush to judgment saying it was not racism, because we do not know. We do know what these parents are being told, and what the parents have now shared with us does not make sense. How do you end up a young, promising football player, not in trouble, mother and daddy at home, everything we tell them to do and be, they go on the 4th of July, on the anniversary of this country, going to an island, we're outing with his friends, and the friends come back and he's left there with some story about he said leave them behind. But then by some magic, one of the friends has his keys and his phone. Mind you, his mother tracked down the phone. They didn't voluntarily tell her they had his phone. They didn't voluntarily say they had the keys. So if they had not been tracked down, we don't know if they've ever would have known where it was. Some of this doesn't make sense. So we are absolutely in National Action Network and other groups going to rally behind this family. I have told them that whatever we can and we need to do, we will do it. because this smacks of some of the worst fears that we've had historically, not only in Mississippi, but in this country. And we are there until the end with them. I've been asked by the family to be in Mississippi for the funeral to officiate, which I'm going to do. We just got off the phone with Tyler Perry, the actor who says he wants to help cover whatever expenses for the funeral. We have with us Spike Lee is in the house. Many of our people that have always supported families are there. This is not about them trying to raise money. We're going to take care of that. This is about, though, they got to keep going forward. But we want justice, and let the chips fall where they may. If it ends up being one way that we suspect was wrong, fine. But if it's another way, don't back up and play games with this. They are not activists or lawyers. So they only want justice for their son. I'm an activist. When we get there and they say we heating things up, that's what we do. Because sometimes you got to make people sweat to get the poison out their system. I'm the sweat man. And they are the parents that want to see justice for their son.
There you see our crusader. God's put him in charge of murdered spirits. So he's just doing his calling. So what do you think, Maurice?
I think that he completely hit the nail on the head. I mean, I couldn't say it better myself. Whenever Rev touches on a topic, you know he's thorough and he hits on every point that needs to be hit on. Yeah. I mean, I just don't understand how you have something that could potentially be a murder. You find a kid's body 7 miles away from the shore. When he's supposed to have left with his friends, they're saying he didn't leave with his friends, he stayed back with the girl. The girl is saying, no, he was supposed to go with the friend. We have tape of an argument or something like that, right? Now they have some other kid that apparently is trying to discredit the tape and saying, oh, no, that wasn't him, that was me, right? But the parents say that their son didn't even know this kid all that well. So we don't know if this is just some friend that the white kids brought up now to try and give themselves an alibi or discredit the evidence that's being held against them. For one, the two things that give me cause for concern in this case are the actions of the victims, number one. No, before the body is even found, they're out here deleting their social media, making stuff private. They don't tell anybody they have the phone. The mother has to use an app to find out that the phone is at their house and that his car is at their house and his keys is still at their house. I mean, you know that there's a manhunt going on for him. You know you have evidence that could be material to that manhunt. And instead, you are withholding evidence. They find the evidence. He lied to the people who came to pick up the phone, trying to act like it wasn't there. Then after they confronted him with, hey, this is where the app says it is, he gives them the phone. Then they ask for the keys, and he lies, trying to say that the keys are not there also. Somebody else comes forward and says, hey, the keys are on your dresser over there. He then gives over the keys reluctantly, right? And the police, to me, are leaving too much of a window for them to start getting rid of evidence. They have, one of them has a mother who's a judge, who I'm not saying that, if there's anybody who knows what you need to do to make sure that charges don't stick, it will be the judge. I'm not saying that she is guilty of doing anything like that or anything like that, but I'm saying if the roles were reversed and these were black people doing this and there was a dead white kid, right now, some of these people would be getting charged with aiding and abetting fugitives. These people would be in the interrogation room right away. They wouldn't just be free to be out deleting everything on their social media and getting rid of all of this evidence. Who knows what else they got rid of, because they didn't come forward in time with all of the material stuff that they had to this investigation. Had they provided this in advance, it could have helped solve the case faster and they could have found the body faster. And again, the phone was deleted. Half the stuff on Nolan's phone was deleted after they handed it over, and it's in their possession. So we know that Nolan didn't delete it. His 2 Snapchat accounts are gone. Who knows what pictures he could have taken that would have helped solve this instance, and let us know whether it's a murder, let us know where he is. All of that is deleted. So now they have to reach out to other resources to try and pull that material from the phone that they had, right? And then in addition to that, they're gonna have to rush and try to reach out to these companies that have their social media accounts to preserve everything and make sure that they're not deleting evidence of maybe racism, something that might provide a motive, Like, we don't know why any of this happened. We don't know what the fight was over because they're being completely silent. They lawyered up. They're not acting like friends, right? So I'm going to say we use the word friend a little bit loosely sometimes. Jesus had some disciples that he considered friends, right? And one of them was Judas. So right now, they seem kind of like that kind of friend, like the Judas kind of friend. All right. I think that if they are friends, they should be a little bit more transparent. They should come forward and say what happened, and we shouldn't have to be guessing about all of this.
What do you think? What's your premise? What do you think happened, as far as you can see?
You talking to me or Reverend Ron?
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Oh, me again? I have two theories of this case, really, based on the evidence we have. Now, they're trying to convince us that this video we saw was not Nolan, right? Yet, I mean, he's from what I can see of the video, there's a kid far away who looks like Nolan arguing with them, saying, hey, what are you doing? Give me my effing phone or something like that, right? Now, that wouldn't be material. It might be believable that's not him if he wasn't found dead and they were not found with his phone. Now that they are found with his phone, I mean, it's up to it's up to a jury to say whether or not that's Nolan or whether they believe this kid who's claiming to be Nolan's friend out of nowhere saying that it's not, right? I'm saying that right now, if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it looks like a duck, to me, it's a duck. This should be a murder investigation until otherwise, right?
Is it a fight over a girl? That's
we will never know
is
that
a fight over a girl.
Fight over a girl. I mean, it could be. That would provide motive, but we will never know that because they're out here deleting evidence. Dead men tell no tales. The one person who would have been able to tell us that is dead. The other three who might have been his killers are not there, right? So I have two theories of how this could possibly have gone down. And again, this is all conjecture at this point because we don't have all of the facts and it needs to be thoroughly investigated. But we see that there's an argument on the island. We see that he's one of like the only black kids on that island. Yeah. It's Mississippi. So you're on a deserted island with a place that's known for having racial tensions and stuff like that. They are arguing with him in front of a bunch of other white people. They may have gotten into a physical altercation or something like that. They decide not to give him his phone back. They leave him on that island and they take his phone and keys so he has no way to get off. And then who knows what could have happened to him after that, because he's there with a bunch of other people who could be potentially suspects. The next theory I have of it, which is something that I strongly suspect, and even if we get back the autopsy and it shows that there's no trauma to the body or something like that, that doesn't mean necessarily that these people are not responsible somehow. They could have had the argument that they had on the island could have spilled over to the boat, because we have a girl that says he was going back with them on the boat. The argument could have spilled over there. They could have pushed him over the boat or something like that, which would explain why his phone and items are on the boat with them, and then just take his phone and stuff like that after. He could have been 7 miles out, even though he knows how to swim, probably too far away to get back to land from that distance and end up drowning due to like exhaustion or whatever from trying to make it somewhere. And they could have just kept going, right? But the autopsy would not show that he's been physically harmed, because you don't have to physically harm somebody to corner them and push them off the boat and then just continue going and don't tell anybody that he's in the water. That would still make you criminally liable. Either way, these kind of things need to be investigated. And they should face some kind of charges, at least, that would give grounds for a better investigation. If the police wanted to hold them right now, they took pictures of themselves underage drinking. That would give cause to at least interrogate them with regards to that, and then start interrogating them about the real issue that you want to get to the bottom of, right? And I think there's a pathway to that, and I just don't think that they're interested in that in Mississippi, unfortunately. It seems like they're looking for the fastest way to close this case and to just absolve these people of responsibility, even though we know that the case wouldn't be handled that way if the roles were reversed and it was a dead white child and there were 3 black kids that were involved.
It sounds like a fight over a white girl, to me.
You think so?
Yeah.
That's plausible.
I bet you that's what it is. An 18-year-old, good-looking, he's a good-looking kid. He's only black, and some girl took a liking to him, and these guys were jealous. That's what it sounds like to me. I mean, that would happen amongst a bunch of young dudes.
It's quite
in
possible.
Mississippi.
For sure. And again, I mean, another red flag. If you're with a group of people, and one of them actually decides to physically take your phone, and you guys are supposedly friends, what kind of friends are those? That should tell you. That kind of passive aggressive behavior. That's the exact kind of people that would harm you. And he seems like he grew up in a loving household and stuff. And he probably wouldn't expect that kind of behavior from people that he considers friends. But just because you consider someone a friend doesn't mean that they look at you in the same light. So, I mean, this case sheds a light on the fact that sometimes we have to use discernment with who we choose to freely associate with and what situations we put ourselves in. A young black man in Mississippi should have reservations about going out in the woods alone.
That's right.
If he's the only black man, or like out on a deserted island alone. If he's the only black man, or out on a mountain or something like that, mountain climbing or something. Don't do any of that unless you have somebody else there who looks like you.
Well, his parents, his mother in particular, she says that she warned him about these circumstances. So he should have been leery of that. But I think the girl took a liking to him and the guys got jealous. That's what it sounds like to me.
But the thing that trips me out with that one too is that they're saying he just met this girl that day.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't know her from anywhere. You're going to stay behind on a deserted island with her and tell your friends, go ahead and take your keys and house phone and phone? No. They either got jealous and took his keys and phone away anyway, or started a confrontation with him, or they had a fight on the boat and pushed him over. That's what I think. All the other stuff, if the stories that they're giving don't make sense, then you look to the explanation that does make sense. Right now, they're not acting like friends, right? So I'm going to assume that they are not friends. Friends do not just start lawyering up before they find your body and conspiring with their judge mothers to delete their social media accounts and hide evidence, right? If you're deleting it, where there's smoke, there's fire. If you had nothing to hide, you're going to be showing people, hey, these are the pictures we took. Here's where he was. Maybe we could find him. Here's the last picture I took of him. No, they're deleting all of those things. And they even deleted his phone. That seems to me like you are guilty, and you do not want any evidence coming out about where you were, who you were with last, because it's going to end up incriminating you. That's the only reason you do stuff like this, right? Sometimes the answer is the obvious. And then again, these police officers should know about like the first 48. If you don't find the killer, or if you don't find a suspect or pin down your suspect within the first 48 hours of the investigation, it becomes so much harder to backtrack and find more evidence and get witnesses who are willing to cooperate and get people who still remember everything, like while it's fresh in their minds. People's memories fade, right? So I just have so many problems with this altogether. I hope that the Mississippi PD and the DA's office down there can do their jobs properly and give this kid his justice, even though he didn't get it while he's alive. Give him the benefit of having a decent investigation.
That's right. Well, gentlemen, you want to chime in?
So, go ahead, Mr. Graham.
No, I was going to say Maurice could work in my major case team. if I'm willing to go back 30 plus
Thank you,
years.
Mr. Graham. Thank you.
See,
get him on that Amadou case and all of that. Yeah.
well, long before Amadou, these guys down in, first of all, ain't nothing changed but the date on the calendar.
Tell it.
Don't think because we had a black president that things have changed. Things have not changed. This is the United States, all right? And July 4th is not Independence Day. Not for us. So the police down there obviously are not doing their job, in my opinion. I would have had everybody brought in.
Sure.
Everybody would have been brought in. Put him in room 1, put him in room 2, put her in room 3. And I've done this work in cases. So the 3 of them know that they're all brought in at the same time. We're going to play a game called Beat the Clock. And Winston, you remember the show Beat the Clock?
Yeah.
With Bud Collier?
Yeah.
That's what I used to do. I'm the one that sends you to prison, not the DA, DA doesn't catch criminals. The DA is the waiter. The detective is the chef. Now I'm going to ask you a set of questions, and I'm letting you know up front, I'm going to ask your boy the same questions, and I'm going to ask the other person the same questions. I have the capability of cutting a deal for whom I choose with the DA. Rule number 1, don't lie. Rule number 2, I told you don't lie. Rule number 3, I prove you a liar, you're going to get more time. And I go into my process. Snitches don't get stitches, they get less time. That's what they get. And I invariably will get the truth out of one of the 3 people. Plus the evidentiary material. You cannot delete anything from your phone. People don't know that. You cannot. You cannot see it. But nothing is deleted from a phone. Nothing. It can be retrieved. So if they don't get that information that these kids thought they deleted, then they didn't go to get it. The police didn't go to get it.
Mm-hmm. So what should happen, Graham?
And also, do things change if they're connected to the judge, one of the kids? Does that change your perspective as an officer with maybe doing all of that?
Well, you see, this is another thing in these small towns. A lot of police officers and sheriffs are political appointments. It's not a civil service job. So they can be removed. We've seen this before with Tawana Brawley and a judge whose son was the assistant district attorney, who was called a rapist by a Supreme Court justice, Stephen Pagonis. His father was a judge in Dutchess County. We've seen this before in the case where the young man went into the house that was being built and the man and his son went out there and shot him with the shotgun a couple of years ago down in, I think it was in Texas.
Ahmaud Arbery, that's right.
Thank you. Shot the young man. And they were friends of the DA. We have seen this 1,000 times. We cannot even say that we want to call in the FBI because you got that cockeyed pelican running the FBI. He's a problem in and of himself. And many of the credible people that work for the Bureau, and I was talking with a former agent just this week, he said, that agency is so jacked up now, it's ridiculous. And you don't have a Justice Department to push for the rights of anybody in this country other than the friends of the demons that are running the country.
All right. Sorry to interrupt, fellas. I gotta head out, but this has been great. Next time I'll be able to give you the full hour. Thanks for having me on, Mr.
All right, Maurice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Take care. So unfortunately, this is where we are. This young man, even if he had just met that girl, he could have said, here's my number, I'll DM you, boom, 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 we talk later. And as Maurice was saying, sure, he could have been on a boat with somebody and been thrown over.
Yeah.
I've seen those bodies washed up on the shore in Brooklyn. In Lido Beach, I've seen those. And the bodies we had were a few days in the water. You don't even want to know what they look like. So there is an absence of an adequate investigation here. The phone, the kid that had the phone, they need to be grilling him like a Frankfurter.
Which one of the friends' mother was a judge?
I don't know which one.
Which one? Maurice probably knows. But we'll have to get back to this. Maybe we can have Maurice on. Well, the developments will develop during the next week. But I'm going to run item 3, Reverend Sharpton.
Mike, Chris did a walkthrough with the police.
So is the concern a shooter?
We get threats all the time. I'm not going to not do the rally.
Why give me your name? Reverend Alfred Sharpton, chairman of National Youth Movement. We just buried a boy, and the only thing he did wrong was he was born on the wrong side of the tracks.
In New York City in the 80s, what we wanted to say, people did not want to hear. So you had to be loud because you were not invited to address the public.
This is the beginning of a civil rights movement in New York.
It's all the media's fault. These things should be kept quiet. Al Sharpton, go home.
They will say that we are exasperating racial tensions, but the people know the truth.
George Floyd's story has been the story of black folks.
There's a truth.
We talk about calling for a big march. We won't put 200,000-300,000 people in Washington.
If the question comes from the media about looting, he wanted to pass to you to set the tone.
Couldn't breathe.
I understand the anger. I've been fighting these issues for decades.
Anytime you start shaking the root of this system, then you're going to have a discredit campaign.
No justice!
Senator Schumer, we have not had the legislative response to the litany of cases of policing all the way from Rodney King to now.
2020, we must deal with police brutality.
We got to turn these stations upside down.
All of our lives you had to fight to make sure that you control the story.
I want the folks at CBS to know if you can't tell the story right, don't tell it at all.
You've got to be able to raise the theater level to where you don't lose control, but it is dramatic enough that you can't be ignored either.
Now, I've been with this loudmouth for what, 30 years now, and he's always like I always say that God put him in charge of murdered spirits, black murdered spirits, and that's what he's doing in this case, doing his calling. So, Ron, you've been the loudmouth for DEI for 100 weeks, and I wanted to have you back on to explain yourself.
Hey,
what are you doing now?
I just want to continue. I know we moved on from the case, but the question was posed, and Nolan had friends, and his friend Warren Cole.
Recording in progress.
Is the friend that had a mother as a judge. Her name is Ashley
Recording
Cole,
stopped.
A Jackson County court judge, and as we all are moved by this case, that is horrific. It is unfortunate that. In 2026, we're still dealing with this craziness, and it's almost as if history loops itself. In 1955, we saw a similar case where Emmett Till, a young child from Chicago, decided to go visit his relatives in Mississippi, and before he left, his mom had to talk to him about the culture in Mississippi. And we know that he went to a Jim Crow South, and unfortunately during his visit, he went to a grocery store, and after a situation at a grocery store, allegedly a white woman made some allegations, and 3 nights later, Roy Bryan and J.W. Millen abducted Emmett Till, beat him to death, and what she did was she became a force in the movement, and she not only gave us the blueprint as activists when we kind of just really do what she did, she was able to amplify the injustice in ways that we had not seen before. There's just so much information that's circling online. Ben Crump recently posted an image that Nolan did not die on July 4th, that he actually was at a pool party on July 5th. And this image was circulating along with caption, and they had a nickname for Nolan called No No. And one of the girls at the party claims that she saw Nolan get beat up and hit with a metal item in his head, and that the mother screamed for the fighting to stop, and everybody left but Nolan. And then we find Nolan dead. And what is strange to me is really that we see that they had to get the dental records to identify Nolan. And why would they need dental records to identify someone who only had been dead a day? He washed up only one day. So we know the situation with the phone and the keys, how they were at his friend's house, and how the mother was able to tag his phone and see how his whereabouts went from one place to another.
Yeah.
But what I recently saw allegedly is that we know that Colin Kaepernick is paying for the autopsy, and that the body of Nolan has been seen by some folk who work in this kind of work, and they're saying that the body of Nolan Wells looks burnt and it looks beaten. And now they haven't done an autopsy; they're not the autopsy people, but they're saying that there's definitely some harm done, which corroborates with the story of the young woman who posted a picture of Nolan Wells at this pool party. And I am wondering if, maybe we should have another open casket type of funeral. Of where, Mamie Till gave the civil rights movement its blueprint on how to expose what is happening in justice. And one of the things she did was she had an open casket funeral at a Church of God in Christ. And I'm wondering if his body is as beat up as they say that it is, that you cannot even recognize Nolan, then we need to show this to the world.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yep. As horrific as it might be, because unfortunately we may not be in a time of Jim Crow, but his cousins and family of Jim Crow was still running around, his grandkids. Yep. And we need to, yes, have new ways, but sometimes the old ways work better than what's new. And if you don't know what works now, do what worked in the past. And we need to really take this case to another level, because in this moment, Nolan Wells is not the only one being treated this way in this country at this time. We have ICE killing people in broad daylight. Right. We've never seen this before. We have people being lynched at schools. And this brings me back to DEI, as you say. Mm-hmm. One of the first things this MAGA 2.0 administration did when it got in office was it decided to take a wrecking bar to DEI. And sometimes people in the North, or, we think that, maybe them white racists down South and communities are going to deal with this, but we don't realize how it impacts us here in the North. So diversity, equity, and inclusion programs were, given a racist stigma that, it's not merit-based. And we have to talk about how they took down affirmative action, they took down women's rights. They're now going after voting rights and also civil rights. But I think that we forget how DEI came about and affirmative action. Affirmative action didn't come about because people weren't merited for things. It was that people who outcompeted their counterpart were overlooked because of their gender or because of their color. And that's why we had things like affirmative action passed. That is the reasoning behind affirmative action, that people who outcompeted and people that should have been put in place were discriminated against. In 2026, unfortunately, we're seeing this happen again. Right here in New York City, Stuyvesant High School only admitted 3 black students, only received 3 black students out of a 777 student class. What? Right there in Brooklyn.
Stuyvesant?
And so Stuyvesant High School.
That's in Manhattan.
That's right. Oh, thank you. In Manhattan, right in Manhattan. And what these are Ivy League feeding schools. It's a specialized high school. And so when we talk about DEI, We're talking about them strategically keeping us out of the possibility to have equity. And we know that when it comes to this American country, that we built it on our backs. We've come out with inventions time and time again. We've answered the bell, but there is so much going on that they're pulling back the clock on contracts, on schools, on businesses. And so this Nolan Wells case, as we're seeing this horrific, I'm going to call it crucifixion.
Right.
We have to have a resurrection moment as a people through the blood. And we have to paint this blood on all the doorposts, because the spirit of death in this nation is roaming around like a lion. And we need to remind this nation not only who we are, but to whom we belong. And that we are a people that not only are resilient, but a people that are loved, and a people that are not looking to conquer you, but a people that are looking for you to just leave us alone. This case of Nolan Wells hanging out with his friends who were a different race than him, and felt comfortable enough to do so in 2026 should not have ended the way it did. And right away you have, I posted something for Nolan Wells just to bring some light to it. And the racist, and I don't even know if they would even classify it as this, because it's so normalized today. The comments that I had read are so just in your face. These people are not wearing Klan masks over their head anymore. They are emboldened in this age. So I am saying, unfortunately, with all of the death that we're seeing, that we, the civil rights movement, need to take these deaths and propel it into law. Dr. King, one of the first cases he dealt with was the Emmett Till case, and was able to push for all the things that he did. The Emmett Till case is what pushed the civil rights movement, and we need to not let these injustices that grow so big, widely known, to fall by the wayside. DEI was birthed out of the death of George Floyd. George Floyd died during the pandemic, and there was all of this research that reporters had came out with, talking about the health disparities, how Black and brown communities don't receive the same kind of health benefits that white communities get, from the housing to the childbirth rates, to incarceration, to many just different things. And with that, the company said, if this is true, based off the research, we're going to come out with diversity, equity, inclusion programs, and we're going to pour money so that we can close in the gap that historically has been there. And so DEI is not what we proposed, it's what they proposed. And the moment Trump got in, they went back on their word. And so we have to hold them accountable. It reminds me of when they went to treaties, when they came to this country with the natives. And the first thing they did when they got with these treaties is they broke the treaties. They turned their back on the word that they gave. And it almost seems that they gave us civil rights. We had a treaty. They're turning their back on it. They gave us women's rights. Then they turned their back on it. They gave us affirmative action. They turned their back on it. So what is our response? I propose that we do not relegate our politics to one party. We need to we also not only need to have a voice in the Democratic Party, but in every other party, from the Green Party to the Working Families Party, to every party that's out there, because the problem becomes our issues are only heard on one side, and that side may be with us or not, but on the other side, we're definitely not heard. So we have to figure out a way to, again, break up this all boy band on the right side. And then the other issue is the vote. We're watching in real time voter suppression happening. It was one of the biggest things. We could talk about Dr. King all we want. We all love Dr. King. We all understand that from Dr. King's movement, then came others like Jesse Jackson, and our leader today, God's servant, Reverend Al Sharpton. And we know that the stuff that Reverend Sharpton is doing, he learned from watching his predecessors do, right? We see right in the clip that you just showed, Bishop Daltrey, a younger Bishop Daltrey, who is still around today, leading the way for civil rights. But I think that we as a people need to wake up and really put our differences aside and get behind something that's bigger than ourselves.
All right.
Ain't nothing changed but the date on the calendar.
Well, I want to run this one item and get your opinion on this. This is on Reconstruction. Run item 4. And,
most of us know our country fought a civil war in the 1860s, but less is known about what came afterward, the chaotic, exhilarating, and ultimately devastating period known as Reconstruction. It was a moment of profound change, with promises of citizenship and equal rights for all. One of the greatest achievements of Reconstruction was granting black men the right to vote. In 1867 alone, over 80% of all the black men in the former Confederate states registered to vote. 3 years later, Hiram Revels was elected the first black man to serve in the United States Senate, and Joseph Rainey became the first black United States congressman. Their election paved the way for more than 2,000 black office holders who served at every level of government during Reconstruction.
There are not many moments in recorded human history where a group that was so subordinated would, within the space of a decade, actually be integrated into the highest echelons of political society.
But the momentum wouldn't last. Black men's access to the ballot box, along with other key rights gained during Reconstruction, were rolled back systematically throughout the South. In 1875, near the end of Reconstruction, the 44th Congress included 7 black House members and a United States Senator. By 1900, only one remained, Congressman George Henry White of North Carolina.
By the time George H. White leaves office in 1901, he literally turns the light off on national black political leadership. No one will come behind him for an entire generation.
One of the cruel ironies of Reconstruction is that black people could claim certain rights in the 1870s that they would have to fight to reclaim in the 1960s. A sobering reminder that achievements thought permanent can be overturned and rights can never be taken for granted.
You know, my son was at the Schomburg with me years ago, my youngest, both my sons. And there was an exhibit on the victims of the civil rights era. Joshua was about 8 or 9, and he looked up at me and said, "Dad, this stuff was going on when you were a kid." I said, "That's right, Joshua." He said, "That wasn't long ago." I said, "No, it wasn't." I said, "And in your lifetime, you can go through it again yourself. If our people don't pay attention to what's going on to protect what we've got." And Ron, you talked about the parties, the political parties. We were sold out in the election of 1877. That's when we were sold out, by the Republican Party, which allowed the rioters, like January 6th, it allowed them to come back and hold positions as state attorneys, congressmen, mayors, sheriffs, as long as they pledged allegiance to America. And we're seeing it again because a lot of the people in ICE were at January 6th. And we're not paying attention to the freaking history of this country. And you mentioned it before, the treaties they struck with the native tribes and nations, they broke every last one of them. Every last one. And that's why you've got to study history. You got to know your enemy better than you know yourself. And I use that same information that you mentioned to get out of my contract with the Army in 1968. I told them, you kept no word, no contract that you signed did you fulfill with the indigenous tribes. I'm not inclined to fulfill my contract with you. And I walked out and never heard another word from the United States Army. We got to look at the history and not be surprised by everything that's going on, because that is their nature. Simple. Dogs bark, dogs bite, snakes bite, birds fly.
That is the reason why I played that Reconstruction is I see today as the Emmett Till. You brought up Emmett Till, and I was the same age as Emmett Till. So that picture in the centerfold of Jet magazine, I saw that as my experience. Because I was 14, and I said, what, this happens? I was in an integrated school, George Washington High, and we had half white, half black. And the various Italians, Jews, and Irish, each of them had a gang. So there were all sorts of prejudice around there. I mean, the Italians had they thought of us differently. They were a little bit more friendly than, we had all Irish cops. We're talking about the 50s. So I saw this as our Reconstruction during the 50s. And then it came the 60s, and we fought for the civil rights, 65, the civil rights vote, and now we're fighting for the same thing over again. And how do we come out of this? The Reconstructions, you had all these black people voting, seeing the seriousness of voting. Now this is what we have to concentrate on today. Voting, getting every black person in America to vote and take it seriously. And you said, Ron, you said different parties. We need to be everywhere. That's right. We need to be everywhere and preach, represent us. You see, I watched the Attorney General confirmation hearing today, and it is ridiculous. I mean, they accuse the Democrats of doing everything that they're doing now. They're bamboozling people. It's unreal what's happening today. And the youth know nothing about this because we haven't exposed them. It's all about what they see and hear. What do you got to say to that, Ron?
I think that when we talk about what is the compromise, we have always been the currency of compromise in this country. After the Emancipation Proclamation, blacks became widely associated with the Republican Party. We voted Republican because of Abraham Lincoln, which was said, the Republicans were said to be, the Freedom Party. But in 1877, there was a compromise, and the compromise was us, compromising our rights, compromising our mobility, our movement forward. And in 1877, we felt sold out. So we saw structures like the Black Codes and the Jim Crow come about. And so ever since then, we became more Democrats with the Dems. But I think that voting is important, right? I think that what we're seeing now, a lot of people, Graham, and maybe you might disagree, a lot of people are saying voting doesn't matter. A lot of people are losing their hope in the voting system. Now,
we got to change that.
We have to change that, but we have, I want to say this, we have done a terrible job of fighting Trump on his conversation that the 2024 election was rigged. Where he lost 2020, sorry, that the 2020 election was rigged.
Yeah.
And he is still moving with that narrative. Matter of fact, he's probably going to use this narrative to disenfranchise many voters coming up in this next general election. And so messaging is important, but not only messaging is important. One thing that Graham said is he had to teach his sons the history, because the problem is our history is not being taught in school. And they have intentionally erased our story as much as they can. And that's why Reverend Sharpton and others become so pivotal in our communities, because they are simply telling us our story that we don't know. We've allowed for who we are and what we are to be history that we don't really care much about, because we are so much on the next fad. And we are almost about pouring into other cultures when we're the originator of culture. And the problem becomes, what are our leaders and teachers doing? You're right, the strongest weapon that we have is our history, and things are looping back and forth. And the reason why things are looping back and forth is because the weapon of miseducating the Negro is a tool that is happening generation after generation that we have not yet stomped out of our community.
Closing remarks, we only have a minute left, but I like to say Abraham Lincoln was a Republican, and my favorite Republican president was Eisenhower. That was the man. I mean, I grew up 52 to 60, and that was
Eisenhower started the wetback program.
I know that's the one thing that. Let me finish.
Stone cold racist.
Well, that was the one thing.
That was a big one thing.
The closing remarks he made. I know how you feel about Eisenhower, but he was the best Republican that we've had.
All of the racists, including Trump. Trump is just he's just doing what they, he's not new. He's doing what they always were doing.
Trump is crazy. He's a lunatic. And everybody that follows him is crazy. That's a fact. And God will prevail. And peace and love to all. The God in me loves the God in you. And stay tuned for more of the Gilchrist Experience. Thank you, guys. God bless.
I read once, passingly, about a man named Shakespeare. I only read about him passingly, but I remember one thing he wrote that kind of moved me. He put it in the mouth of Hamlet, I think it was, who said, "To be or not to be." He was in doubt about something. Whether it was nobler in the mind of man to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, moderation, or to take up arms against the sea of troubles and by opposing, end them. And I go for that. If you take up arms, you'll end it. But if you sit around and wait for the one who's in power to make up his mind that he should end it, you'll be waiting a long time. And in my opinion, the young generation of whites, blacks, browns, whatever else there is, you're living at a time of extremism, a time of revolution, a time when there's got to be a change. People in power have misused it, and now there has to be a change, and a better world has to be built, and the only way it's going to be built is with extreme methods. And I, for one, will join in with anyone, don't care what color you are, as long as you want to change this miserable condition that exists on this earth. Thank you.